The year is 2018, and just last year we saw the release of the third and final Cars film, Cars 3, which brought over 100 brand new characters and character variants into the Cars diecast line. The last time a new Cars film came out, it was Cars 2, which completely took over the toy line for 2 whole years. Well, they did things a bit differently with Cars 3, having Cars 3 take over the line from May to the end of 2017, and then in 2018, return to the series system that we'd seen since 2013. But, as you can see just from the packaging, the series system was a bit different, as it now encapsulated characters from all 3 Cars movies. That's right, 2018 is the first year where you could have cars from all 3 of the movies out at the exact same time. As you can see, while the series system did continue, the packaging got a bit of a visual change, reflecting the characterless Cars 3 packaging, but now with character images, which many fans were very happy about. I was very happy about this. I was so upset that the Cars 3 packaging had no images. It was so nice to finally get pictures of a lot of the Cars 3 characters getting their official artworks. As you can see, they also removed the 3 from the logo. Now it just said Cars. We had an image here, the series here, and on the back of the package, a description. While previous years of the series system had given us different backgrounds based on the series, this year was the first one to streamline it and give every character the exact same background, something that continued with the series system until it ended at the end of 2020. There were some exceptions, like some characters that didn't have blurred backgrounds, and Alof, the Lightyear blimp, who had a sky background, but yeah, we just had sort of a generic Radiator Springs background for everyone, blurred or unblurred. This year's packaging also, for some reason, dropped the numbering from the series system and just did a bit of a graphic design change for some of the other parts of the packaging, like the little call to actions that say Deluxe or Super Chase or whatever. Series released this year include Dynaco 400, which was the new Cars 1 Piston Cup theme series. From now on, any Cars 1 Piston Cup stuff was put in Dynaco 400 since Cars 3 introduced some other new Piston Cup stuff and they had to differentiate. But we also saw some other series return, such as Radiator Springs and World Grand Prix. In addition to that, we had an RSN series, we had a Piston Cup Racer series focusing on Cars 3 veteran racers, a next-gen Piston Cup Racer series, a Rusty's Racing Center series, Thunder Hollow series, Cotter Pin series, Florida 500 series, and finally the Scavenger Hunt line, which took miscellaneous items from the year and made new special metallic variants of them. It was a pretty interesting concept. They were kind of similar to Chases, but not really, just sort of these interesting metallic takes on characters that allowed us to get new metallic variants of characters both well-known and super random and obscure. The Scavenger Hunt line, for the record, also included this year's Super Chases. Outside of the main line, Expanded Universe toy lines shifted to focus on the Cars 3 racers instead of the World Grand Prix racers, with the Fireball Beach racers and Thomasville Racing Legends series. It was a pretty interesting and unique year, one that showed us what the Cars diecast line would be doing going forward. Of course, Cars 3 absolutely dominated, but we did get a couple of items from Cars 1 and 2, and it was really nice to have all 3 Cars movies together in the toy line for the first time ever. I knew from the jump what item I wanted to review today. If you were around in the Cars fanbase in 2018, the hype for next gens was insanely high, with fans clamoring to see them all get released. The next gens were such a cool concept, and while fan perception on them has shifted in more recent years, I think some of them have some absolutely incredible designs, which are absolute all-timers when it comes to Piston Cup racers. Chris Roamin here just has to be my favorite item from 2018, so let's take a closer look at him. Hello everybody, and welcome back to 20 Years of Favorites, a series where I take a look at my favorite item from the Cars diecast line each year in anticipation and celebration of the 20th anniversary of the first Cars movie in June. For today's episode, we're taking a look at Chris Roamin from 2018, an item that was pretty rare for several years, very desirable, and luckily just came back this year in 2026. Chris Roamin is not only my favorite item from this year, I think he captures the vibe and feeling of 2018 very well with all of the next-gen hype and seeing all the exciting new Cars 3 characters that didn't make it in the initial lineup in 2017. But Chris Roamin also is important to 2018 because, well, he was one of the first cars to ever have a Thailand variant. That's right, 2018 is easily most famous for being the year that Cars diecast production switched from China to Thailand. And with it came a slight design shift for the Cars diecast line. Now using additional separate eye plates and just having a sort of slightly different graphic design style. At first, a lot of people were very upset over this, but as the years have gone on, people have really warmed up to Thailand, and seeing how new characters look with their Thailand variants has become something a lot of collectors are really invested in, with some even going out of their way to buy every new re-release because they're new country variants that look a little different. Thailand started off rough with some really poor quality decals and just kind of rough looking items. Look at Rip Klichkonsky. I mean, he looks awful. Ignore the giant chip on mine, but yeah, this is from the first wave of Thailand cars. Chris Roamin was also from an early Thailand wave, and I do think he looks pretty great, but I do just want to point out a lot of Thailand's early efforts were rough, but they ended up getting really good and being pretty well loved by Cars fans. Anyway, Chris Roamin here is sponsored by Combustor, one of the Cars 3 original sponsors, the same one that we see for Chip Gearings. I think they're supposed to be like an online banking sort of company, and Chris Roamin uses a very sort of digital pixelated style. Of course, the next gens are all supposed to look super high-tech and sleek and also just kind of sort of samey, right? They're the next gen. They're kind of these personality-less erasers, and I think the diecast line did a pretty good job capturing that with their blank, determined faces and pretty interesting but oftentimes simplistic designs. I really, really like how Chris Roamin looks here with this whole pixelated look. We have the green up top with some pixels missing. I love how it stretches down to the sides. I think his facial expression is really great, and the different shades of dark blue work really well here. A super underrated detail about him is the fact that the pixels are actually somewhat textured. As you can see, when the light hits them, these are sort of recessed in, which is super cool, and something that I honestly think is only there because it is a Thailand variant of the character. I don't even know if that was intentional. That's just how it turned out, and it's one of my favorite details with the item. We have the Combustor logo here, the future of online banking. As you can see, Chris Roamin, hope he's not a crypto bro. If he is, I may have to replace him as my favorite of the year. What would my second place be? Maybe Sarge with Cannon, Thomas Phil Racers, Kyle Weathers, Metallic, Fabulous McQueen. Anyway, moving on to the side. Once again, we have this really cool pixelated texturing detail. I just love how all the pixel design looks here. Pixel art gets a bad rep often. You know, we have the whole sort of so retro joke where so many companies try to be like, look how cool and retro we are with our pixel art. But I think it does work with Chris Roamin. Maybe it feels a little out of touch to have the next gen racer for Combustor use a sort of dated art style, but I think that pixel art is a really great and fun art style when used properly, and I think Chris Roamin uses it pretty well. If anything, I think he's going to remind people of Minecraft, a very popular modern game, as compared to maybe a sort of 80s 8-bit game. How they have the sort of removed pixels always reminded me of the sort of Minecraft creeper logo. One thing I really like is how the number 11 here is made out of removed pixels. I wish they were a little more consistent with the other ones, but it does look pretty cool. Unfortunately, you can see he's got a big sort of chip here. Yeah, some of these earlier Thailand cars, I guess, do chip kind of easily, and they chip in sort of a different way than made in China cars, but I don't have many that are chipped. It's just like Chris Roamin's been used in a lot of Cars Adventures episodes since he's one of my favorites. So we got the Piston Cup, Combustor, Carbon Cyber, and Synergy. Don't ask why his contingency sponsor is one of his. It's just the list that all the next gens have on their sides. He, of course, also has an additional Combustor logo down here. I really like those green wheels. A lot of Thailand cars have insanely ugly wheels with a weird sort of buildup on the inside of them. I'm happy to say that Chris Roamin, or at least my Chris Roamin, isn't one of them. But yeah, the next-gen wheels that Thailand does, something that always looked really, really rough. I really like the spoiler here. Once again, that sort of eroding, pixelated design with very small combustor text. Moving on to the back, he has his rookie stripes, a nice detail that they put on all the next gens, except him treadless. I do wish the pixelation continued over there, though, and you can see he does have another chip. There is a look at the other side. It's okay, he has 2 chips. The previous racer was named Chip. Looks like he didn't find that very funny. I do wish that, yeah, they totally could have made his design asymmetrical, but it seems like they didn't. But hey, that's all right. Finally, there is a look at the base. As you can see, made in Thailand. And there you have it, Chris Roamin. 2018, pretty solid year for the Cars diecast line. Well, we had the controversy of the Thailand switchover. Thailand eventually found its footing, and the Cars diecast line was in a pretty good place here as they continue to make items from Cars 3 and bring back items from the other 2 movies and occasionally make new ones as well. But the era of Cars 3 is really only beginning in the Cars diecast line, and we'll see it continue to be focused on for the next few years. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week when we cover 2019. Bye now. Oh, also, since this packaging was used for 2018 and 2019, this is actually a 2019 release, Jet Robinson here, so just when I showed this for several minutes, it's actually not from this year, but it is the packaging from this year. Yeah.